swipe your card and feel nothing. No fear, no excitement, just relief that it went through. That moment feels normal, almost invisible, yet it quietly decides how your future unfolds. Because two people can use the exact same debt and walk in completely opposite directions. One slowly builds leverage, options, and time. The other slowly trades tomorrow for comfort today without realizing the cost until it's already locked in. Most people think debt is either good or bad. A simple moral rule: avoid it if you are responsible. Use it if you are reckless. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. Debt does not punish everyone equally. It rewards those who understand it and quietly traps those who don't. And the scary part is that both sides believe they are being smart. Picture this. One person takes on debt and feels heavier every month. Payments tighten their breathing. Decisions shrink. Another person takes on debt and feels lighter, more mobile, more flexible. Same system, same banks, same interest rates, completely different outcomes. This is not about income. It's not about intelligence. It's not even about discipline in the way people think. It's about the story you believe when you borrow money. Whether you see debt as something that helps you grow or something that helps you cope. And once you see the difference, you can't unsee it. Because from that moment on, every loan, every swipe, every monthly payment starts revealing which path you're actually on. Let's begin with where everything actually starts. Number 1, the purpose of debt. The first real difference starts before the loan is even taken, in the reason behind it. When most people borrow money, they do it to make life feel easier right now. A nicer car, a bigger phone, a lifestyle that matches what they see around them. The debt is there to reduce discomfort in the present. It fills a gap between what they earn and what they want today. At first, this feels harmless. The payments seem manageable. The upgrade feels deserved. But over time, that debt begins to quietly control choices. Jobs feel harder to leave. Risks feel dangerous. Every decision gets filtered through one question: can I still make the payment? This is how debt slowly shrinks your future without making any noise. Wealthy people start from a different question. They ask what this debt will produce, not what it will provide emotionally. Their borrowing has a job to do. It is meant to grow income, create cash flow, or increase leverage. If the debt does not move them forward, they don't touch it. They are willing to feel a little discomfort now if it protects flexibility later. That is why their debt often looks boring from the outside. No flashy reward, no instant status, just patience. Over time, this creates a strange inversion. The person using debt for comfort feels stressed even when things look good. The person using debt for growth feels calm even with large numbers attached to their name. Same system, different intent. One uses debt to escape pressure today. The other uses it to reduce pressure permanently. That single difference quietly decides everything that follows. Now this leads us to the second difference, and this one is subtle but powerful: how debt affects time and energy. The second difference shows up in how debt interacts with daily life. For most people, debt consumes energy. It lives in the background of every week. You think about it when you wake up. You think about it when you get paid. You think about it when something unexpected happens. Even when you're not actively worried, it's there. That mental load is expensive. It makes people tired. It makes long-term thinking harder. You start choosing stability over opportunity because stability feels safer when you owe money. This is why many people stay in jobs they dislike for years. Debt quietly trains obedience. Wealthy people are very aware of this cost, so they structure debt differently. Their debt is designed to free time, not steal it. The payments are covered by assets, not by stress. If a loan requires constant attention or personal sacrifice, it is seen as dangerous, even if the interest rate is low. They want debt that runs in the background without draining focus. This allows them to think longer term while others are stuck thinking month to month. Over time, this gap compounds. One person is exhausted by maintaining life. The other has mental space to notice opportunities. That space is not luck, it is engineered. Debt either taxes your attention or protects it. Most people never realize this trade until years have already passed. Now here's the third difference, and this is where most people get it wrong. Risk perception around debt. The third difference is how risk is understood. Poor debt feels safe at the beginning. Fixed payments, predictable schedules, clear timelines. It feels controlled, but the real risk is hidden. Job loss, health issues, economic shifts. When income is the only thing supporting the debt, life becomes fragile. One disruption can cause panic. This is why people fear recession even when they are working hard. Wealthy people see risk differently. They assume disruption will happen. They plan for it. Their debt is often backed by multiple streams, buffers, and exit options. They don't ask, can I afford this today? They ask what happens if things go wrong. If the answer is stress, they walk away. This is why they can hold large amounts of debt without fear. The risk is spread, not concentrated. Poor debt concentrates risk on the individual. Rich debt distributes risk across systems. One turns life into a balancing act. The other turns uncertainty into something manageable. Over time, this changes confidence. One group becomes more cautious every year. The other becomes more strategic. Not because they love risk, but because they understand where it actually lives. Now here's the fourth difference, and this one is more emotional than financial. How debt is tied to identity. For most people, debt becomes personal. It blends into identity in quiet ways. The car you drive, the house you live in, the lifestyle you maintain all start feeling like proof of progress. Debt supports that image, so questioning the debt feels like questioning yourself. This is why people defend bad loans emotionally. Admitting the debt was a mistake feels like admitting they were wrong about who they are or where they should be in life. Over time, this attachment makes change harder. Selling the car feels like failure. Downsizing feels like going backward. Wealthy people separate identity from debt very deliberately. Their sense of self is not tied to what the loan gives them socially. They are willing to walk away from things that no longer serve a purpose, even if it looks strange from the outside. To them, debt is temporary and replaceable. Identity is not. This emotional distance allows faster decisions. They can exit bad positions without ego getting involved. While others protect appearances, they protect flexibility. That difference shows up years later when one person feels trapped by choices they can't reverse, and the other treats past decisions as simple data, not personal judgments. This naturally leads to the fifth difference. Because debt doesn't just affect money, it changes behavior. The direction debt pushes behavior. Debt quietly shapes behavior long after the paperwork is signed. Poorly used debt pushes people into maintenance mode. The goal becomes keeping everything running. Payments, bills, routines. Life turns into management instead of growth. You start saying no to things that don't pay immediately. Learning feels risky. Experimenting feels irresponsible. The debt trains you to optimize for short-term certainty. Wealthy people design debt to do the opposite. Their debt pushes them toward expansion. It forces systems to be built, skills to be learned, and income to grow. Instead of shrinking choices, it demands better thinking. This kind of debt is uncomfortable at first because it requires responsibility, not consumption. But over time, it creates momentum. The person using debt to maintain life slowly gets tired. The person using debt to build life slowly gains confidence. Neither path looks dramatic day to day. The difference only becomes obvious years later when one feels stuck and the other feels optionality. Debt doesn't just cost money, it trains behavior. Now let's talk about the sixth difference, which quietly reshapes how people feel about money itself. How debt changes your relationship with money. When debt is used for survival or status, money starts to feel scarce even at higher incomes. Every paycheck already has a job. Relief comes when the balance goes down. Stress returns when it rises. Money becomes something to control tightly, not something to deploy thoughtfully. This leads to fear-based decisions. People hoard cash while paying high interest. They avoid learning because mistakes feel expensive. Wealthy people develop a different relationship. Because their debt is structured around assets, money feels like a tool in motion. Cash is not just saved, it is positioned. They are less emotional about balances and more focused on flow. This allows calmer decisions under pressure. They can wait, they can move, they can absorb mistakes without panic. Over time, this creates confidence that looks like discipline from the outside. But it is not discipline alone. It is alignment. Debt either teaches you that money is dangerous and fragile, or it teaches you that money is neutral and strategic. That lesson shapes every financial move that follows. At this point, the gap starts to widen, and the seventh difference explains why. How debt affects decision speed. One of the most overlooked differences is how quickly decisions can be made. For people buried in consumer-style debt, every decision feels slow and heavy. Even small choices come with mental calculations. Can I afford this? What if something goes wrong? Should I wait? Debt adds friction to thinking. It creates hesitation. Over time, hesitation becomes a habit. Opportunities pass not because they were bad, but because they required clarity and speed. Wealthy people design debt so it does not slow them down. Because their debt is backed by assets and buffers, they can decide faster with less emotion. Speed does not mean recklessness, it means fewer internal obstacles. When an opportunity appears, they already know their limits, their numbers, and their exits. This allows action while others are still calculating. Years later, this difference compounds quietly. One person looks cautious and responsible, the other looks lucky. But what you are really seeing is the long-term effect of debt, either clogging decision-making or clearing space for it. Now here's the eighth difference, and this one most people feel but never name. The emotional cycle debt creates. Debt creates emotional patterns that repeat every month. Poorly structured debt produces a cycle of relief and stress. Relief when the paycheck hits. Stress when payments leave. This emotional swing keeps people focused on the present. It is hard to think 5 or 10 years ahead when your nervous system is stuck in a monthly loop. Over time, this cycle drains optimism. People stop planning and start coping. Wealthy people are very intentional about breaking this cycle. Their debt does not rely on emotional highs and lows. Payments are automated and covered by cash flow. There is no monthly drama. This emotional stability is powerful. It allows long-term planning to feel natural instead of overwhelming. While others are riding waves of anxiety and relief, they are thinking in seasons and decades. This is not about having more money. It is about having fewer emotional spikes tied to money. Debt either keeps your emotions busy or frees them. Once that emotional cycle sets in, the ninth difference begins to show up. How debt interacts with learning and growth. Debt also decides how open you are to learning. When debt is tight, mistakes feel dangerous. Trying something new feels irresponsible. You stick to what you know, even if it is not working well. This creates stagnation. People tell themselves they will learn later when things are more stable. Later rarely comes. Wealthy people use debt in a way that encourages learning. Because their downside is protected, experimentation feels acceptable. They can test ideas, adjust strategies, and improve systems without fear of collapse. This accelerates growth. Learning compounds faster when mistakes are survivable. Over time, this creates a knowledge gap that looks like intelligence from the outside, but it is not raw intelligence. It is environment. Debt either creates a fragile life where learning is risky, or a resilient one where learning is rewarded. You know the pattern now. Now let's come to the 10th difference, because this is where pressure really lives. Who actually carries the burden of the debt? For most people, the burden of debt sits directly on their shoulders. Their time, their energy, their labor is what keeps the loan alive. Miss a paycheck and everything shakes. The debt is personal, fragile, and unforgiving. This is why people feel constantly on edge, even when they are doing everything right. The system is designed so that the individual absorbs all the pressure. Wealthy people work very hard to shift that burden away from themselves. Their debt is supported by assets, systems, and structures. Rent pays the loan. Cash flow covers the interest. Reserves exist for disruption. The goal is simple. If something goes wrong, the debt should not immediately collapse their personal life. This separation is what allows calm under pressure. One person feels like they are carrying a heavy backpack every day. The other set the backpack down and build a cart to carry it instead. The weight may be the same, but the experience is completely different. From there, the 11th difference becomes clear, and it has everything to do with freedom. How debt influences freedom and choices. Debt quietly decides how free you are. Consumer-style debt narrows choices. It limits where you can live, what work you can accept, how much risk you can tolerate. You start choosing what is safe instead of what is aligned. Over time, life becomes smaller, even if income rises. Wealthy people judge debt by how much freedom it preserves or creates. If a loan reduces future options, it is rejected, no matter how attractive it looks today. Their debt is designed to increase choice, not restrict it. This is why they can walk away from bad situations faster. Freedom is not an accident. It is built into their financial structure. Debt either becomes a fence around your life or a lever that opens it. Most people only realize which one they chose after years have passed. And finally, this brings us to the last difference, the one that ties everything together over time. The long-term story debt tells. In the end, debt tells a story about how you relate to the future. Poorly used debt borrows happiness and convenience from tomorrow and spends it today. The bill always arrives later, with interest. At first, it feels manageable, then it feels permanent. Wealthy people use debt to invest in tomorrow, even if today feels slower. Their debt is forward-facing. It is uncomfortable at first because it delays gratification. But over time, it reduces pressure instead of increasing it. This is why the gap grows so wide and feels so unfair. Both sides worked, both sides borrowed, but one used debt as a bridge to the future, while the other used it as a cushion for the present. Once you see this, debt stops being a mystery. It becomes a mirror. It shows whether your financial choices are quietly building your life forward or quietly locking it in place. If this made you pause for a second, that's a good sign, because the goal here isn't to scare you away from debt or push you toward it blindly. It's to make you conscious. Most people don't lose financially because they're lazy or careless. They lose because they repeat patterns they never stop to question. Debt just happens to be one of the most powerful patterns in the system. The moment you start asking better questions about why you borrow, what that debt produces, and who carries the pressure, you step out of autopilot. You stop reacting the way the system expects you to react, and that awareness alone begins to change how your future unfolds. If this perspective helped you see debt differently, take a second to sit with it before you scroll away. Let it sink in. And if you want more breakdowns like this, the kind that don't lecture but actually explain how money really works beneath the surface, you already know what to do. Stay here. There's a lot more you were never taught, and once you start seeing it clearly, you can't unsee it.